The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the host, Warren Band.
It is episode 52 of the Warren and Bradley Show. And
yeah, you're correct.
No.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I was totally wrong because, as we all know, there are 52 weeks in a year. And I thought, okay, it's week 52 or episode 52, which means it's been a year. But our first show was on December 4th.
Yeah.
And obviously, when this comes out, it will not be December 4th. It'll be like November 25th or something like that when it comes out, the day after Thanksgiving. So apparently we had an extra show in there somewhere. I think maybe when we first started the show, we did a couple in quick succession, not every week.
There's no way that happened. I don't remember that at all.
It did, because I think we did episode 1. I think what I did is I posted one, and then I posted the next one just a few days later or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's not the 1 year anniversary?
No.
So we're not doing any special events for this show?
It's nothing special whatsoever.
Okay.
It'll just be the same inane talk.
All of you that had been anticipating that huge buildup that Brad was getting to episode 52 are going to be really disappointed by this show, because this show is going to suck really bad.
Well, I think next show will be the exciting 1 year anniversary
show 53,
of the Warren and Bradley Show.
The very important show.
I'll start right off the bat with my horrible morning that I had. It was one of those, you know how sometimes everything perfectly aligns to be shit? Like, it's a 1 in a million chance that all these things can happen, but somehow they do, and it all just...
Yeah.
I woke up this morning. We went out last night. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Had a few drinks. Woke up slightly hungover, and the way I was sleeping, I had apparently laid on my arm improperly.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just numb, it was just completely dead. Mm-hmm. And I tried to move my arm, and since it was asleep, it went... And I hit myself in the nose really hard.
With your dead arm?
With my dead arm. I was like, oh! So that's the first thing that happens when I wake up in the morning. Then as I try to roll out of bed, I had somehow become entangled in my sheet. Like it had wrapped around my calf or something like that. And I wasn't aware of it. So I started rolling out of bed, and suddenly I got stuck in the sheet, and I went, ah! And tumbled down to the ground and hit my head on the ground really hard.
Jesus.
So I was all bleary-eyed. I had smacked myself in the nose, hit my head. It's probably mildly concussed. I stumble into the bathroom. I'm all groggy and slightly hungover. I don't have my contacts in.
Yeah.
I go into the bathroom and immediately try to start pissing. And of course I get the Trident 3-pronged piss that comes out.
Yeah.
Goes on either side of the toilet bowl and then up onto the seat.
None of it straight into the toilet bowl.
None of it. And so you're trying to somehow figure out, okay, which way do I go? Which stream is the largest stream? And you're kind of massaging your penis to try to get it to open up properly.
Whatever does it cause that. You're trying to ease that, right?
No fucking idea what's going on. So finally I got the piss to go in the actual bowl, but I was already almost done by that point. So I'm mopping up piss everywhere.
Oh, Jesus.
Then I go to the sink and I try to start putting my contacts in. I have one on my finger. I go put it onto my eyeball, I think. And then I blink my eye and it's gone. I'm looking everywhere. I can't find this contact. It's the thing where you drop something and you see exactly where it lands, but then it just disappears.
This happens to me all the time with food.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're always picking up food off the ground that you've dropped.
I was eating some Jelly Bellies the other day, and one of the Jelly Bellies fell, and it just disappeared, and it really drove me crazy. I couldn't find it, and it just showed up randomly a couple days later.
Yeah, and of course, I didn't have my contacts in, so I'm pretty much blind, and I'm all groggy, and I'm still, head ringing from smacking it against the floor. And so it took me a good, 5 minutes to find this contact, and eventually I found it stuck to my chest hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I popped that in. Then I try to make some coffee. And, I use the French press. And when I'm pouring the boiling water into the French press, I measure it out in a measuring cup because I want exactly 16 ounces in my French press. Take the measuring cup, pour it into the French press. And even though the cup has a spout and it should just pour into the French press, for some reason it starts dribbling down and it cascades down onto my bare foot and just completely scalds my foot. I actually had to put salve on it. So I'm wearing a sock right now that's all slimy because it has salve and like a burnt, boiled foot. Then I walk out to my car, or to my truck. I get in, start it up, take the emergency brake off. I'm ready to go. And then I realize that I forgot my wallet. So I take the key out of the ignition, get out of the car, but I had not put the emergency brake back on.
Oh, no.
As I'm getting out of the car, it rolls over the foot that got burnt by the scalding hot water. So I'm like, God damn it! Then, after that, I went back inside and decided that I would, like, wash out my coffee mug. Broke it.
Really?
Yeah.
How? You
I
drop
don't know.
it?
I was just washing it,
handle
and
come
the
off?
handle came off.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this? So finally, I went back, got in my truck. I'm all, like, beaten up and fucked up. Drove downtown, and finally my day started to improve, actually, though, because I went into the bagelry, and I was eating my little sandwich, and I noticed this crow outside that was just like strutting around, and he was intimidating all the pigeons that were out there.
Sure.
I was like, oh, I'm going to give this crow some bagel. And so I open the door, and I get a chunk of bagel, and I throw it out at the crow, and it grabs it and just like starts ripping into it. So I'm kind of amused watching the crow. And then this little old man starts walking by, and he has a giant cookie. I don't know where he got it.
Like a novelty giant
It's
cookie?
like a huge, big cookie,
Yeah.
like wrapped in paper, and he's got it like a cuff.
Yeah,
for
that's
the
weird.
cookie.
That's something you usually get at the mall or maybe like a seaside resort or something. I don't know where you would have got
But
it
he
here.
seemed very pleased with this cookie.
Yeah, I would be too.
And he started chomping on the cookie, and the crow had finished devouring the piece of bagel that I had given it, and I could see its beady little eye,
Little dessert, maybe.
fasten onto that cookie.
Yeah.
And it takes off the car and just starts attacking the cookie that the guy
Really?
had in his hand. I mean, crows are pretty aggressive, but I've never seen one actually forcibly try to take
It makes
food
no
from a
sense
human.
that it was an old man that couldn't defend
Well, I
himself.
think I'd given him a taste for human food, and then he decided that he was going to just like go to town. So this old man's like shaking all over the place, trying to get this crow off him, and it's just like wings in his face, and crumbs are going everywhere.
Wow.
It was hilarious.
That's bizarre.
So I started just laughing uproariously while I'm sitting there in the bagelry, and everyone else is staring at me because they don't see the amazing activity that's going on outside.
It makes me wonder, this story, if you can really take care of yourself. If maybe you shouldn't have like in-home care or something.
I'm normally fine. It was just one of those mornings where everything just went horribly wrong. I don't know what happened.
Most mornings you think you can like take care of yourself, dress yourself.
Usually I'm fine, yeah.
Without like having a car roll over your foot or like scalding yourself or injuring yourself while trying to make coffee.
Usually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
So in spite of that horrible morning, I've actually been in a better mood. I had a good encounter the other day. I think I've mentioned before the power of bitching and how bitching can often result in you getting your way.
I think that's the theme of the show, apparently. Right?
Apparently.
Yeah.
I had a great example of this the other day. I had recently, when the new iPhone came out, I had upgraded to the iPhone 5. I sold my own phone to some guy in Russia and got the new phone. Paid like over $300 for my iPhone 4, which is kind of ridiculous.
I don't understand the market, but
I don't either.
Yeah.
But apparently Russians are mad for him for old technology. And so I had gotten the new phone, and so I am still on a grandfathered in unlimited data plan with AT&T. Mm-hmm. So when I got the new phone, I call them up. I'm like, all right, I'm upgrading to this phone, yada, yada, yada. Get the first bill, and it's like $240.
Oh, for 1 month?
I was like, what the fuck is this? And so I call the AT&T people.
Yeah.
And I get some guy, and he starts in a monotone explaining all these charges that there's the upgrade fee, and then there's the fee for this, and the fee for this, and then taxes, and blah, blah, blah. And so I just went, I don't want to pay that. And he went, well, I'm sorry, sir, but the policy is blah, blah. And I was like, no. I'm not going to pay the upgrade fee, and I'm not going to pay these other charges, or I just want my normal bill.
Yeah.
And he went, well, sir, I can't do that. I was like, do you have a supervisor there that I can talk to? Well, I'm allowed to make decisions based on, all right, well, make the decision that I'm not going to pay that fee. Well, and I just went on I just stonewalled him for a good 10 minutes saying, I've been a customer for over 4 years, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of it, he was like, oh, I'm not allowed to do this. I really can't do it. I'm like, well, just do it anyway. And he did. And so basically I didn't have to pay any of the upgrade fees or anything else, and I just had my normal bill.
Okay, I don't understand why AT&T gives these people discretion to do that.
I think it's that basically they will kind of massage anything for you if you make enough of
If
a
you
stink
whine
about it.
about it.
Because most people don't. Most people
that's
just
the,
get their
that's
bill.
the thing that annoys me about it. It's rewarding people who like whine and complain about things.
Well, I don't want to pay the upgrade fee.
Yeah, I know, but it's like lots of people don't want to whine and complain, or don't want to, you know what I mean? They just want to like live their life and maybe not pay the upgrade fee too. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you know, bitch about it, you get like rewarded for that.
It works.
I greatly discourage this. In my previous job, people would call up and demand things.
Yeah.
Very, angry people. And
Well, I wasn't angry. I was just very matter of fact.
And they would get their way. A lot of times people just didn't want to talk to them anymore. But I couldn't talk to these people anymore after a while because that's not the way I operate.
Yeah.
Because if someone calls up and demands extra special treatment, I'm going to be like, fuck you. Go fuck yourself.
That's how
I'm not
I
gonna
was.
give you special treatment.
When I worked in retail, see, I think I'm allowed to do this because when I worked in retail, I constantly had obnoxious people annoying me as well. Like, they would buy something, they would wear it for like a month, and they bring it back covered in like blood and gravy or something. Be like, I want to return this, and they're like, fuck no. But if it ever got to the point where a manager was called, the manager would just because if you complain, they'll just do whatever you want. And so I always stonewalled the customers. I was like, no, you're not getting any special treatment.
Yeah.
But if somebody who works for AT&T is weak enough to let me, browbeat them into giving me what I want, then
I just think this is a poor policy. And not even just for like business reasons, but just ethical reasons. Well, the way I worked with customers in my previous job was I would always be very quick about making sure the people who didn't complain, actually got what they deserved. And people are going to cause me a lot of trouble. You know what? You're going to complain anyways.
Well,
so
here
fuck
was my rationale when I was arguing with the guy is that previously when I had upgraded to other phones, they had waived my upgrade fee. But this time they charged it, and they had waived it before as like, this is a valued customer deal. We're waiving your upgrade fee. And then also there was a problem with my text messaging plan. I had an old grandfathered in plan that was 1,500 messages. And then they had forced me to take a new plan that was more expensive, and I didn't want the new plan. And then they had charged me for the new plan, and so I was like, hey, man, I want the old plan that I had before. I'm still continuing my service with you. If I have my data plan grandfathered in, why can't I have the text messaging plan grandfathered in?
Oh, Jesus.
So it was all perfectly reasonable, and so I got what I wanted. I saved myself $140.
But I know this happens with the cable company, too.
Yeah.
I've always heard about people like, calling up and demanding they get cheaper cable, and then them just folding and giving it to you. Yeah. It's strange. It's a really strange way to do business. Because it's not like there's different degrees of cable, It's like, if you're getting this kind of cable, and the other person's getting this kind of cable, you should probably both be paying the same amount because it's the same exact service.
Right.
But if you call up and complain, you get a discount?
Yeah.
That's
the way it works.
Well, okay. If you want to talk about criticizing America that's just like, give me. And then you start bitching and wanting special treatment just because you're like annoyed.
I am a loyal customer who has been with AT&T for very, very many years.
Oh, you don't think all these other people that are actually paying for their phone service aren't loyal customers?
I think that they just decide, okay, because what's the upgrade fee
This is
for?
You are basically an Obama voter at this point. The ones that you criticize.
No,
you're just taking
Let me
things.
justify my selfishness.
Okay.
Because what is AT&T doing to earn the upgrade fee? Nothing.
They upgraded you, right?
They didn't upgrade anything. Like, I'm still paying for the new phone. I'm still paying for the service. It's just that it's like, this is a filing charge or this is a paperwork fee, even though there's no paperwork involved.
Yeah.
All you do is call in and they go, you have a new phone now. So basically, it's their excuse to charge you more money for the hell of it. And I didn't want to be charged that new money for the hell of it. So I complained and I got my way.
Okay, that's perfectly fair then.
Yes.
Yeah. You should get special treatment.
Hopefully all the kids out there who are listening to this show.
Don't pay your bills. Just call in and complain and get them reduced.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to handle things.
But
what?
Well, I mean, I understand the idea that perhaps this could be considered hypocritical based on things that I've said in the past.
Hypocritical.
But it's the common man standing up for himself. It's not demanding things for free. Because I'm paying for my service. The common man with a very expensive cell phone demanding he not be charged as much as other people because he doesn't want to pay it. Because it was unjust.
Unjust.
And standing up for justice.
If you were to go out in the street and start a protest and save everyone this money, then it might be about justice. If it's just about you getting paid off, a la Keith Cox Autobahn.
Hey, that was
you can't
that
be
was a
critical
legitimate reason
of everyone
as well.
else being selfish and trying to take things if you're just demanding things and taking them yourself.
No, but listen. This is different.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to the government and saying, hey, man, I want some shit. That guy has shit. Give me the shit that he has because I want it. I'm going to a private business as a loyal customer and saying, hey, look, if you want to keep me as a motherfucking customer, this is the way it's going to be. And then they make the decision based upon the fact that they do want to keep me as a customer.
Okay.
That's what capitalism's all about, baby.
All right, good.
See, that's the main difference.
That sounds right.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Spare $1.
And give me a motherfucking cigarette.
I ran out of gas ways back. Got me that.
You smoke weed, don't you?
Good in the car.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
It's been a couple weeks since we've had a Street Freak, but now I've got 2 for you, Warren, for you to choose from. I don't know if you'll remember or not, but a couple weeks ago when we were recording, we were interrupted by a Street Freak bellowing down on the street.
Having an argument with someone that wasn't there.
Having an argument with herself, screaming, drinking a 2-liter thing of Coke. And actually, while I was editing that episode and editing the part where I could hear her yelling in the background, she was yelling in the background on the recording that I was editing. I pressed pause, but I could still hear yelling in the background. I was like, what the hell? What's going on? I took my headphones off, and lo and behold, she was down on the street again screaming. But this time, she was not screaming at nobody. She was screaming at a little old woman who had one of those walker basket things with groceries in it. This poor, frail, like 90-year-old woman was creeping along on the road. And this crazy homeless chick was just screaming at her at the top of her lungs.
Yeah.
I don't know what the old woman did to her. She disrespected her in some way.
Well,
Maybe
based on this person's previous behavior, she may not have even seen an old woman there.
There might not have been any rational explanation for why she was behaving in this way. But the old woman was very upset and very intimidated. This chick was, oh, no, you didn't do that, and like getting right in somebody's face.
As I recall, when she was doing her little dialogue, she did have that sort of like
Hispanic-ish kind of thing going on.
I don't know if that's the term we want to use, but maybe it was a little bit of an urban vibe to it.
Yeah, a little urban.
It was sort of like,
maybe she's from Tacoma.
Yeah, it was a little bit of do the right thing kind of vibe to it. Yeah,
but she was getting right in this old woman's face and like grabbing onto her little walker and shaking it, like shaking it on the ground. And this old woman was like, holding on to the walker. It's like, Jesus, am I have to go down there? Is she going to start beating this old woman? Like pick up the walker and just beating her over the head with it? But finally, the old woman toddled away, and she looked as though she wasn't going to follow after her, but she kept hurling abuse at her retreating, frail back as she was hobbling away. And then to cap it all off, after the old woman was a good half a block away, she lifted her skirt, squatted, and pissed on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's middle of the day. People walking by didn't care.
Call of nature, right?
Yeah.
If you got to go, you got to go.
When nature calls, you got to answer.
Yeah.
The second Street Freak of the week. This happened yesterday. If you'll recall, it was raining like a bastard yesterday.
Oh, yes, I do remember that. I was actually walking my dog in that weather. I remember that.
I went downstairs, went into the parking lot, got into my truck, and put the key in the ignition. Didn't turn the key yet, but I heard this coughing sound. Well, that can't be my engine because I
like how both the Street Freaks have this certain like mystery audio component, like you pausing it and still hearing the audio going, but it's someone else, and that the coughing sounding like the ignition starting in your truck.
It was perfect timing.
Yeah,
it was like about to start, and it was like,
okay,
okay. So I listen.
Yeah.
Don't hear anything again. I'm like, okay, maybe that was just my imagination or somebody from like a block away, some weird trick of acoustics or something. I heard somebody coughing. So I'm about to start it again and like, all right, that's very close. Get out of my truck, look around, don't see anybody around.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
I got a feeling where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look under my truck. There's a homeless man laying on his back under the bed of my pickup truck. It's raining, so I guess in some ways it's logical that he decided to take shelter, but there are plenty of other places. There's an overhang by the dumpsters that he could shelter under. There's the front porch where you could huddle in there. A lot of homeless people like that area where they can huddle under. There's water flowing all over the ground.
It's not a good place to be if you want to stay dry.
He's he's laying in a puddle of water under a pickup truck.
Yeah. Well, again, Brad incredulous at the mentally ill
I
doing
know,
crazy things.
But even somebody with no mental acuity whatsoever could just like crawl. So I just don't understand. I don't understand what causes this. So I'm like, all right, there's a homeless man under my truck. It's like when there's a cat in your engine bay or something.
Yeah.
You're like, oh God. So I'm like, hello. And he goes and waves at me from under the truck as though I'm just going to be like, okay, I'll leave you alone now.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need to get out of there. He goes, okay, I'm sorry. He crawls out from under the truck, and then I was like, I was pointing out these areas that were sheltered from the rain.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to get out of the rain, you could go to the mission over there. You could go across the street to the drop-in center. You could go there and there. And he's like, okay. So yeah, that might not be a good place for you to lay under somebody's truck. If I hadn't noticed you, I might have just pulled out and run over you. And he's like, I would have moved if you'd started it. Well, you heard me get in my truck.
Yeah.
You knew I got in my truck. I had shut the door and I was about to leave. When were you going to actually move? Oh, if the engine started, I would have moved.
I have a feeling this is like one of those cat situations, like when a cat's sitting on your car or behind your car, and as soon as the engine does start, they just dart out of the way.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's not a good plan.
No. So who wins?
I'm gonna go with guy under the truck.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I think it would have been odd if, just imagine if you would actually run over his head and killed him.
Yeah.
And then people would have seen, like in the news, that you had actually killed a homeless person and driven over them.
Yeah, motive might have been in question.
Oh, can you imagine? Yeah.
But I never expressed hatred or dislike for the homeless people.
There'd be a lot of talk, though, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because it's like, you're known for talking about homeless people, trying to have interactions with homeless people. The next thing you know, you're driving over a homeless person.
It's sort of like a reporter who...
Too close to the story.
Yeah, who creates his own story. He puts himself into the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, then. So, congratulations,
Mr. Chilling Under the Truck guy.
Yeah. Congratulations, Mr. Chilling Under the Truck homeless man. You've been selected as the Street Freak of the Week.
Congratulations.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week. Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Very well then, Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. Let's start it right off with...
You talking to me? De Niro dresses down rude Jay-Z over unreturned calls.
This is from the Wonderwall on MSN. I realize that we should probably attribute some of our stories.
You often attribute the stories, and you say they're like from Us Weekly and
I
stuff.
do sometimes.
But
I
they're
don't.
all from the Wonderwall, really.
Yeah, but usually the Wonderwall takes from Us Weekly, Associated Press, different places. Fans of Jay-Z's lyrical stylings know how much he reveres Robert De Niro. He frequently name drops the iconic actor from the opening lines of New York State of Mind to Party Life, sipping on my vino, got me cooler than Pacino and De Niro put together. My real life is like Casino.
Yeah.
Wow. It's profound and
it
lyrical. But apparently he got on De Niro's bad side by not returning his calls. De Niro wanted Jay-Z to record a song for the Tribeca Film Festival. He called him multiple times. Jay-Z did not call him back. They were at Leonardo DiCaprio's birthday party or something like that.
Yeah.
And Jay-Z was at a table. De Niro came over to his table and told Jay-Z that if somebody calls you 6 times, you call them back. It doesn't matter who you are. That is just rude. Jay-Z tried to...
I think he kind of shrugged it off, and he said, like, oh, I'm not good on the phone.
Yeah, he tried to laugh it off and just said, oh, I'm sorry, whatever. But De Niro just kept hounding him about it.
Like a De Niro character would in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to try to do some De Niro quotes from films or something, but I can't do a De Niro voice, really.
You need to call a man back. You need to call him back.
Disrespectful.
Jay, you got to call a man back.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I thought actually that sounded good to me. Really? You thought that was
do
bad?
it again. Let's see.
Jay, you gotta call. You understand, Jay? You gotta call a man back. You gotta call a man back, Jay. That Robert De Niro, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. The thing I like about the story is the fact that it's like a confrontation between two people that pretend they're tough a lot.
Well, and I remember we were talking about Clint Eastwood a ways back and how he probably has done nothing in his real life that would be anything near the kinds of things that his characters do in the films.
Exactly.
But just because he's played these badasses in movies,
He's perceived as a tough guy.
Yeah, you would be a little intimidated if Clint Eastwood or Robert De Niro were mad at you.
And Robert De Niro has played a lot of like tough guys, kind of crazy guys in movies, you know. And Jay-Z likes to sing about how like tough he is and stuff. But, of course, we know that doesn't mean you're actually a tough person. They were at Leonardo DiCaprio's birthday party.
Uh-oh. Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber have massive fight during dinner date.
What are they doing? Going on dates again?
Well, temporarily going their separate ways after an October 31st breakup, the couple reunited for a tense dinner date Friday at Japanese eatery Yamato. They arrived separately, but the pair couldn't even peruse the menus before beginning to bicker. A source tells Us Weekly. I don't know who the source was, probably a waiter or something. Quote, they had just sat down and didn't order when they started to fight. 10 minutes later, they stormed out without speaking, and Selena drove off in her car. Stunned when Gomez stormed out of the restaurant, Bieber carried on swearing and yelling outside the eatery before following Gomez.
Cocksucker!
What the fuck? You're such a bitch! Following Gomez to her home and begging her to allow him inside. According to the same witness. So I guess this must have been some paparazzi.
It's a paparazzo who's like following him around everywhere
and then
scooter.
Drove after him.
Yeah.
Gomez wouldn't allow Bieber to come into her gated driveway, so he started yelling her name over the fence. Selena! Let me in! He kept swearing and yelling and losing his temper. Apparently, Gomez came out eventually, but she would not let Bieber inside, refusing to open her gate. And then apparently Bieber, his car was parked there for hours after the confrontation, so I guess he was just sitting in his car crying.
Oh, boy. Stewing, maybe.
Screaming her name.
So you think this makes the relationship sound like it was a real relationship, at least, right?
Yeah, and she definitely was the one who ended it, according to sources.
Well, that's right. We reported last week that wasn't he like playing the field or something?
Well, supposedly.
I know you don't think he's capable of that.
Well, in this story, it says that he's been texting girls like crazy. Whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe sexting a little bit.
I just imagine the sort of like Streetcar Named Desire scene where he's out there.
Yeah, Selena! Like ripping off his like tank top and stuff,
exposing his frail body underneath. Not quite a Marlon Brando lookalike,
or even Ned Flanders from the Simpsons version.
This is a weird story. I had not heard that Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, had tried to kill himself. But
really?
Apparently he did a couple years ago. This is from a story also from the Associated Press. The dog whisperer looks forward to new lease on life. And I guess in 2010, when his beloved pit bull Daddy died, I don't know if you ever watched the show, but Daddy was the most I know about the show is you telling me about the show and how much you liked it. It was so enjoyable.
Yeah, I am.
Daddy was his pack leader pit bull who he would bring to help other dogs. He was just this like big old pit bull that was very calm all the time. He had a calm sort of energy. And so Daddy died, and apparently that really upset Caesar. And then shortly after that, like a month after, his wife told him that she was divorcing him.
Which do you think was worse for Caesar?
It seems like the Daddy thing was worse.
Yeah, I thought probably.
So he went into a spiral of depression and apparently overdosed on pills, tried to kill himself in 2010.
That's not funny. I don't know why I laughed.
It's just weird because he just seemed like such a together little guy, you know? He always had this perfectly groomed goatee.
Persona, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, people are not handling their animals very well because they're, like, getting emotional around them.
Right.
He's calm, and he tries to, like, bring it to the dog world.
Calm and assertive, you're the pack leader. But he spiraled out of control, tried to kill himself, but now he's gotten his life back on track. He has Junior, a new pit bull who Daddy trained, apparently.
Oh, good.
I don't know how that works. But he still can't replace Daddy. I'm trying to look for...
He still had Junior when he tried to kill himself, right?
I think so.
If Daddy trained him.
He says, I felt defeated, a big sense of guilt and failure. I was at the lowest level I had ever been emotionally and psychologically. I think maybe... because he tries to be in such control all the time, the idea that his wife was going to leave him and the illusion of his perfect life that he had built up around himself. He should have gone
on some sort of reality show with like Dr. Phil and had him try to fix him like he does for people's dogs.
Is Dr. Phil still around?
Yeah, Dr. Phil still has this show.
Okay, I've never seen that. Daddy was my Tibet, my Himalaya, my Gouda, my Buddha, my source of calmness.
What is going on with you?
Yeah, he really loved Daddy.
Gouda?
Gouda? I like this story. It's from Us Magazine. Christian Stewart, I wasn't addicted to smoking. I just wanted something in my mouth. Got something right here, baby. She made this statement on Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
She said that she had just quit smoking recently and that she had never really been addicted to nicotine. She said, I was a bit of a faker, a circumstantial smoker. I just feel like I wasn't addicted to nicotine. She was struggling to find the right words and eventually gave up and said, I just wanted something in my mouth. Red-faced after her R-rated pun, she asked O'Brien, why did I do that? O'Brien joked, I'm glad for the internet that you did do that.
Here we go. Here's an interesting question in light of this story. Brad, are you addicted to smoking?
I think I just want something in my mouth. Because ever since I've been a little kid, I always liked suckers, gum. Like, I've always had this oral thing.
Yeah.
Now, let's not take that any further than it needs to go.
Okay.
And even as a little kid, I used to pretend to smoke. I would get those little candy cigarettes that they used to have back in the day, and I would pretend to smoke them. So when I have not smoked for any extended period of time, I know people who are heavy smokers who, if they go for a while without smoking, they get very angry and irritated and really pissed off. I don't. Like, if I'm really sick and I can't smoke, or, you know, there just might be some circumstance where I'm not going to smoke for a couple days. Hasn't happened recently, but
this is the thing about that, right?
It has happened in the past, and I don't get that weird irritable thing. I still would like to smoke, but I think it's more oral fixation and hand to mouth kind of habit thing than it is the...
You think you could go a whole month without smoking?
I don't know, probably.
This would be interesting.
I'm not going to try. Next story. Lindsay Lohan has a secret half-sister.
Ooh.
This is a weird story. You know, we all know that her father, Michael, is a freak and a weirdo. Yeah. Apparently, there was a televised paternity test which proved that he had sired another daughter.
Who televised this?
Oh, we'll see here. Christy Horn has spent 4 years trying to convince Michael Lohan that he is the father of her 17-year-old daughter, Ashley, and he finally agreed to settle the matter by taking a DNA test on the Trisha Goddard show. I've never even heard of this show.
No, I haven't either.
In the big reveal, which airs Thursday, Michael comes face-to-face with his alleged love child for the first time as Goddard reads out the positive result, prompting Christy to break down in tears. Michael, who had previously denied the allegations, stands up to hug the teenager, but she tries to resist, saying, "This is the first time I've met you. I'm sorry, but I'm just not sure." He replies, "It's okay. Everything in time, honey." God, what a creep.
What a poor kid.
Yeah.
What a creepy thing to do.
Born-again Christian Michael has 4 children with Dina or Dinah Lohan, I never know how to pronounce her name, including Lindsay. He's reportedly expecting another child with his longtime girlfriend, Kate Major.
Oh, good old born-again Christian. So this kid's 17 now? Mm-hmm. So is it to the point where he's like acknowledging the kid once he doesn't have to pay for the kid?
I don't know. He's got a lot of fucking up to make up for. He hasn't been in her life, and he has to fuck her life up as much as he's fucked up all his other daughters' lives.
Well, that's true, right? Because, you know, it's like, oh, I've always wanted a dad. You know, I wish my dad was around. But if your dad is this guy...
Yeah.
The world's notorious, one of their worst dads in the world. You don't really want that dad.
Well, he's going to work overtime and make sure that he gets her on the path of destruction, just like Lindsay and all his other daughters.
Stay away from him.
Okay, I think that's enough celebrity news for this week. We will end Celebrity Minute now on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Good ending.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Now, Warren, I know you are aware, but not all of our audience members might be aware of the fact that Seattle, the city to the south of us...
The Emerald City.
The Emerald City has a contingent of superheroes who patrol the streets. Mm-hmm. I think we mentioned this briefly on an episode several months ago, just as a little news story. Recently, though, Phoenix Jones, the leader of the Rain City superhero movement, Rain City, Seattle, there was a YouTube video posted which shows Phoenix Jones getting into a fight with a orange-shirted assailant, and it's become kind of viral on YouTube. There are a bunch of local news stories. I'm not sure if it went national or not. A little background information. Phoenix Jones is a weirdo. Who I guess is sort of a mixed martial arts fighter or something, like an MMA fighter. who puts on a weird costume. Mm-hmm. He has a bunch of other weirdos who hang out.
Sort of
with
a
him.
Batman-looking thing.
Kind of, it's like a black and yellow.
Yeah, and it
sort
covers
of
like the top of his face.
Bumblebee-ish looking thing. He's got a bunch of other weirdos who wander around with him, and they patrol the streets of Seattle late at night looking for fights, assaults, people trying to break and enter. They call themselves the Rain City Superheroes. There are superheroes such as Thorn, Buster Doe, the Green Reaper, the Mantis, Gemini, No Name, Catastrophe, Thunder 88, Penelope, and Phoenix Jones. I'm not sure if Penelope's his sister or mother or
We don't know the
grandmother or
relation of
something.
Penelope.
Red Dragon. And also Jones's wife, Purple Rain, is also another member of the superhero squad. There are a lot of people who do not like the fact that this guy wanders around and kind of puts himself into these situations.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, he's obviously kind of a nut.
Yeah.
So you never know what's going to happen with the nuts wandering around, like punching
Right.
people.
From what I can tell, he does seem to be fairly restrained. I mean, I think the whole thing's hilarious. I think it's ridiculous that there's people in costumes wandering around. But at the same time, I like the idea that too often I see people just kind of stand and watch when somebody's getting the shit kicked out of them on the side of the street, you know? So it is kind of nice that people are at least trying to do something. Whether or not you should wear spandex costumes and call yourself Purple Rain or the Red Dragon, that's another thing to be determined.
We've talked about that case in the past, the one in New York about the Kitty Genovese case, right? Where
Where everyone
It's
just...
not- if
she was
Phoenix
being raped and stabbed repeatedly, and people were just like,
No one responded. But, I mean, if Phoenix Jones had been there, he would have tried to, like, thwart that at least.
I would hope so.
You have to give him that much credit.
So recently, this YouTube video was posted. It shows Phoenix Jones fighting with this drunken idiot. And I guess the background on this whole thing is that Phoenix Jones and his cohorts were
The League of
patrolling...
Justice, whatever they are.
The League of Justice, the Rain City Superheroes. They were patrolling the University District in Seattle. And I guess they saw the orange-shirted dude and a couple of his friends banging on a car that apparently a woman was driving.
Oh, no.
And according to Jones, they were intimidating the driver of the car and banging on it. And so Jones and his other superheroes got involved. And I guess they called the police first to report it.
Yeah.
And then they got involved and said, like, stop banging on that car. So I guess they did. The video picks up when Jones and his friends are walking away, and the drunken guys are following after them, yelling racial slurs. And screaming
Phoenix
at Jones.
is black, too.
Phoenix Jones is black, you know, using the N-word. So finally the cops show up because the Jones crew calls the cops. The cops come out. The drunken orange-shirted guy is like, come on, let's go. You want to go? Let's go. Finally, Jones says, like, okay, I will fight you. The cops are like, no, you can't be fighting in the street.
Here on the street.
Jones pulls out his little legal index cards where he has local Seattle ordinances written down, shows it to the cop, and says, no, it is legal for us to fight. It's mutual combat.
And the cop said, well, I guess it's allowed.
The cop goes, all right, fine.
So they stepped away.
So they square off on each other. Jones starts doing these crazy, like, side kicks.
Yeah,
and, like,
it's sort of like that kind of thing where you're trying to like look like you're like a street fighter.
well,
or
you
something.
could tell he kind of does know what he's
He's
doing.
like popping around, just kind of like kicking. Yeah.
He's bouncing on the balls of his
Yeah.
feet. Basically, the guy tries to like go for his throat, and Jones hits him once and knocks him down. This little instigator dude, who is one of the drunken friends, starts going crazy. He's like, come on, come on! And at this point, the other cops have arrived, and they screen off the drunken people, and Jones and his friends walk away. So the whole thing, the controversy around this was some people are saying that the cop should not have allowed Phoenix Jones to fight in the street.
Yeah.
I have the ordinance here. It's from Seattle Municipal Code 12A.06.025, fighting. It is unlawful for any person to intentionally fight with another person in a public place and thereby create a substantial risk of injury to a person who is not actively participating in the fight or damage to the property of a person who is not actively participating in the fight. So basically what this is saying, it sounds like you're not allowed to fight at all, but if you read between the lines, it says you're only not allowed to fight if
you're going to harm someone that's not involved in the fight.
You could harm somebody else or damage property. So implicitly, it's saying that if you challenge someone to a fight and they accept that challenge, as long as you don't hurt anybody else or damage any property, you're allowed to battle each other. So, what do you think about this? Do you think this ordinance should be in effect, and do you think that the police did the right thing, or should they just have...
The cops should if there's a fight going on, and the cops should probably just break up the fight. But I mean, if you're if you and I were going to fight, right? Mm-hmm. And we both were like, well, I guess we'll go fight. we could just go to like a place where the cops weren't and then fight there.
Yes.
But if you're fighting in the middle of a busy street with the police there.
But for the most part, you're not going to get in fights that way. You're going to get in fights when you're drunk.
Yeah, when you're
out
drunk
in the
and you're
street.
really in rage and you're like swinging around wildly.
Yeah.
And at that point, the cop should probably be like, all right, that's enough of that.
Right.
Because somebody is going to get hurt, right?
Well, and that's what always happens. You see some stupid drunken bar fight, and they're just flailing themselves around like drunken buffaloes, smashing into people. And there's always some girlfriend or other chick screaming and trying to grab onto them. They always end up getting smacked in the face and thrown to the ground.
Or like the Drake Chris Brown incident when Tony Parker got his eye.
Famously.
Yeah, glass in his eye. Yeah, I mean,
But
that's people get hurt.
I do definitely agree with the fact that if two guys want to beat the shit out of each other and they're not going to hurt anybody else or damage property, then by all means.
Well, customarily, that's how things were. We're led to believe that's how things were settled in like the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Now, old guys talk about, nowadays everyone's got a gun, which isn't really true here.
No.
But they talk about, all these weapons, yada, yada, yada. Back in the day, we'd both take our like hot rods out to some like field. We just have a fist fight out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it would be settled and it'd be over.
Yeah.
Which is probably true, right?
So technically, does that mean dueling is fine?
Dueling is illegal, I think.
But what's the definition of dueling? Because dueling could be with fists.
Maybe dueling with fists is probably okay. Dueling used to be illegal many, many years ago, I think, but I think they started clamping down on that because people were dying. And I think if you did duel, I think even like Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr,
that was illegal at the time.
It was illegal, right?
Yeah, but people still did it. I think what could cause a problem is if, let's say, you wanted to duel somebody, you both had a saber, and you picked some field at midnight in a full moon. If you were fighting and you grievously injured the other person, that's when it goes from a matter of honor to a matter of the police becoming involved.
Yes. It's not a very good way to settle things, really.
I like it, actually, because...
But people are getting injured and, like, killed.
Yeah, but...
You like it to the point. This is the same thing with everything else like this, right? It's like, ooh, you romanticize in your mind because you think, oh, I'd be the one cutting him down, or I'd be shooting this other guy. When really what happens is some asshole insults you. You're like, how dare you? You slap him with a little glove.
Yeah.
Go out to a field. He shoots you in the eye and you die.
I would never duel. I would never duel with guns. That's
and he just gets away, or he like has a knife and he cuts your like neck or something.
Well, that would be my own fault for losing the duel.
Is that really? That's the way you want to handle things? You're insulted by an asshole, and then he kills you in a field.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to solve anything.
Well, I would just have to practice my dueling at all times. That's
another thing too. All it does is like give the advantage of people who are bigger and stronger.
That's the problem inherent in dueling, is that you spend so much time practicing for duels because you're worried about being run through.
But it also like doesn't have anything to do with honor, really, in the sense that like if some old man's walking down the street and some like young virile guy insults him and calls him an asshole, and the old man's like, oh, I'm gonna, let's have a duel, and then he gets killed.
Well,
he's not the one that did anything wrong in the first place.
Traditionally, you're allowed to have a proxy. If somebody who is
who wants to do that, especially if there's guns.
Warren, this is hundreds of years of tradition that you're just throwing out the door.
I know.
My argument for dueling has always been that there would be less chances or less instances of assholes saying fuck you when they bump into you in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
If they knew that I could be like, what? And take my glove off and slap them across the face, and that they might get run through with a saber, people might be less likely. Because now people are like, fuck off, fuck you. And then nothing happens.
But you can still like fight them in the street.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
You want to take them out in a field and like fight them with a sword.
Common fisticuffs. That's not civilized, Warren. The sword and the gun are civilized. Yeah.
I still know this problem with people just like, is that really happening to you all the time?
No, not all the time.
It's enough that you want to start bringing back dueling? I think all that you do if you brought more dueling in was just have more people like shooting each other and cutting each other in duels.
Yeah, maybe.
And that just more hurt people.
That wouldn't necessarily bother me, though, either.
It's all about, but I mean, the people that bump into people and are like, fuck you, and stuff like that. We've talked about this before. It's all about, they get their comeuppance eventually.
You hope so, yeah. But I think maybe it would take somebody finally beating the shit out of them for them to get their comeuppance.
Well, it happens eventually. Usually,
yeah.
I think it does.
But maybe there's a huge line of people that they've fuck you'd in the wake, it's like...
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, there's something to be said for that, right? So if someone does that to you, don't just be like, okay, that's fine. You have to kind of stand up for yourself.
Yeah, with
right.
the sword. Alrighty, we're going to have to wrap it up soon, but I think we have time for one more segment. We should mention that the show will be out the day after Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving.
Friday.
Yeah, Black Friday. Does that even exist really anymore?
The show's going to be on sale. Yeah, it does. It's a huge deal.
I thought
We
everyone
have a
just-
friend who used to work at Old Navy who had to be there like all night last year.
It's so annoying to me. Like,
And it's just a complete zoo, and people line up, and there's like brawls in the parking
you
lot
could
and
not
stuff.
pay me enough to make me do that. It's ridiculous.
Well, the strange thing about it, of course, is that it's like, ooh, you get like 25% off a T-shirt or something.
Go online.
It's, yeah,
just so-
go online and get it delivered to your house. I would pay a couple dollars more not to have to line
I
up
know.
in a parking lot
At
at 3
4
o'clock
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning.
Yeah, that's
and the day
ridiculous.
after Thanksgiving.
But happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, have a good Thanksgiving.
Also, another quick story. Some of you might have heard that Hostess brand is shutting down, going completely out of business, basically because the union will not. I think they voted 90% against the new contract that Hostess was trying to put into place. Basically, they're not making any money. They're trying to renegotiate their contract with the union workers. Union workers voted to reject the contract, and now 18,500 people will have no jobs, and we will not have Twinkies.
Well, this is the urban legend that they like last forever, right?
Right.
So you can just, I mean, in 1,000 years, you could find a Twinkie and just eat it and be perfectly fine.
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, it would be bad for you, just like it's bad for you now. But, oh, goodbye, Hostess. Oh, how we'll miss you.
Okay, I had one story that I wanted to mention here. There was an article in Time about how humans are supposedly getting dumber. And this is according to a study. It was a 2-part paper published in the journal Trends in Genetics. Stafford University researcher Gerald Crabtree suggests that evolution is in fact making us dumber, and that human intelligence may have actually peaked before our hunter-gatherer predecessors left Africa. You're running around on the veldt.
Yeah.
You have to worry about predators. You have to worry about migration of animals, where your prey is going to be at any given moment. You had to memorize a lot of facts.
Okay,
survival skills.
When I first saw the story, I was going to like argue with it and say it was bullshit. But now that I think about it, I actually think it does make sense.
From a purely anecdotal, I mean, I haven't been alive that long, and I don't really know how people from maybe 10,000 BC compare to the way we are now, but definitely I think it's a lot easier to not die than it was back then.
It's the premise of that Mike Judge movie, Idiocracy, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Where it's, you can survive, well, like the person outside that was yelling outside the other day.
Yeah.
And then came back and was yelling. And this person is probably, they were in their 20s, probably, right?
It's hard to tell with them. They're very used
you know
up
what I mean?
by that point.
This person's still alive.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not decrying that or saying that's awful, like they should be eliminated or anything. But I'm also saying that, like,
She has the potential to pass her genes on.
she has the potential to pass her genes on. So the people like that, maybe, who have some sort of like predilection to mental illness or any sort of like weakness like that evolutionarily, they're still probably reproducing, whereas those people probably got weeded out pretty fast in a more rigorous
Well,
way.
and I've said many, many times that almost everyone is just mind-numbingly stupid. If you just take a general survey of any culture, any country, most people are dumb as shit.
Well, it
And-
all has to do with what you mean when you talk about being dumb.
Well,
Do you mean the
basically-
people that have the like skills to get through their day but don't know when the Civil War was? You know what I mean?
No. It's not even about facts. It's about common sense. It's about you can do really stupid things and there aren't really very many repercussions anymore. Like you could work a job and be fine at a job, but if suddenly a giant Black Panther attacked you, would you know what to do? And no. But that's I guess a bad example because that's not going to happen in our society. But basically, I sort of do believe this study as well because 10,000 years ago, you had to be constantly alert and adaptive to changing situations. Now you can get a job, you can do the same thing over and over again every single day, and you never have to think about anything, really.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to put clothes on yourself and you have to go to the grocery store, but you don't have to procure your own food. You don't have to do
the
anything.
biggest barrier to like you just subsisting is you being self-destructive in some way, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted to work at the widget factory and I just like got up every morning and went there and like put together the widgets and then like went home and had my hungry man dinner and went to sleep, I could stay alive for 80 years and not have any problem staying alive, right?
There's, I can't remember which book it was, but Jared Diamond was talking about this. He was the one who wrote Guns, Germs, and Steel and other sort of anthropological books. And he was talking about anthropologically. He was talking about the tribesmen who still live in Papua New Guinea, who still have a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. He says, subjectively, in my opinion, that they are way more intelligent than the average urban city dweller. And I guess if you measure intelligence by survival information you have stored, because if I think about now, I mean, especially now with cell phones and everything, I don't even know any phone numbers anymore, really. You
Yeah.
know, and you're not really mentally challenged. We think about abstract things a lot, and I guess
But that's the society we live in, is a society that values those skills.
and social skills is huge for us. Like the social interactions we have are so varied and so nuanced, and I guess
But even that isn't like, a lot of that doesn't have that much to do with staying alive, though.
No.
You know, because you can not have that many social skills and just know not to harm people or attack people, and you can get by. That's just the structure that we've built up in our society.
we just don't have the stakes anymore. If you were bad, if you were stupid and unsuccessful 10,000 years ago, you would die. And now you can be stupid and either society will take care of you or you're just not challenged as much.
No,
I don't think.
you're not, and physically and intellectually.
So it makes perfect sense to me that people are
Well,
gonna be stupid.
it's just like, you know, if you enlist in the army and then you do well as an infantryman, then you become an army ranger, and then you get selected. Maybe you're in the Navy SEALs or in the Delta Force or something eventually. Those guys are just better.
Yeah.
Far better at their job just because they've been weeded through, right?
Right.
And I mean, if
There's
you-
no weeding
If there was-
system in place for the general
And
population.
exactly. And if there was some sort of like environment that rewarded like quick thinking, being physically strong and physically tough and knowing what's going on around you at all times, those people would be the people that survived.
I think maybe there's a difference between being clever and being intelligent, because the advances we've had in the sciences and arts and literature and things which aren't possible when you're constantly struggling to survive. And maybe the survival fosters a clever
It's just
sort of
specialization.
intelligence. Yeah. And then we are more specialized to abstract thought and reasoning.
But that's the
and
nature
weird-
of our society, right? And like to get ahead in our society and to be the wealthiest person, you don't have to be able to do basically anything except for one little thing very well, right?
Right. I think of people who might be very good at a particular job and might seem to have everything together, but then if you throw a curveball at them, whether or not they're able to adapt to that and think quick, they might be really good at a regimented, structured kind of life that they're leading. But it's interesting when you see somebody in a crisis or some sort of emergency situation.
If they just fold up and panic.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also gets back to just like, what are you trying to achieve with this intelligence?
Right.
If you're trying to be happy,
we've talked about this before.
right, then maybe somebody with Down syndrome, you know, I mean, you could say is much more intelligent because they're doing a better job.
Yeah, they're very pleased.
You know what I mean?
all
And
the
if
time.
you're a very tortured person that perceives yourself as intellectual, how smart are you really?
It's just like me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, remember, if you're intelligent, you can't be successful because you think too much.
That's right. It's crippling. That's intelligence. It's just the weight. If you could just take a little bit off, you'd be a big success.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Start drinking more. Well, I think that one thing we do know is that the listeners of the Warren and Bradley show are just as intelligent as the hunter-gatherers from 2,000 years ago, or 200,000 years ago.
I think if you gave the listeners of this show IQ tests and then took a random sample of Americans and gave them IQ tests, I think our listeners would be slightly higher.
Oh, slightly higher,
You
yes.
think you think much higher?
Slightly, yes.
Oh, slightly, yes.
Yes, slightly. I think that's enough for the Warren and Bradley show for this week. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor,
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
saying...
If you're smart, you would probably be able to close out a show a lot quicker than I do.
There you go.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com.
And of course, I get the Trident 3-pronged piss that comes out.
Yeah.
Goes on either side of the toilet bowl and then like up onto the seat.
None of it straight into the toilet bowl.
None of it. And so you're trying to somehow figure out, okay, which way do I go? Which stream is the largest stream? And you're kind of like massaging your penis to try to get it to open up properly.
Whatever does it cause that. You're trying to ease that, right?
No fucking idea what's going on. So finally I got the piss to go in the actual bowl, but I was already almost done by that point. So I'm mopping up piss everywhere.
Oh, Jesus.
Then I go to the sink and I try to start putting my contacts in. I have one on my finger. I go put it onto my eyeball, I think. And then I blink my eye and it's gone. Looking everywhere, I can't find this contact. It's the thing where you drop something and you see exactly where it lands, but then it just disappears.
This happens to me all the time with food.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're always picking up food off the ground that you've dropped.
I was eating some Jelly Bellies the other day, and one of the Jelly Bellies fell, and it just disappeared, and it really drove me crazy. I couldn't find it, and it just showed up randomly a couple days later.
Yeah, and of course, I didn't have my contacts in, so I'm pretty much blind, and I'm all groggy, and I'm still, like, head-ringing from smacking it against the floor. And so it took me a good, 5 minutes to find this contact, and eventually I found it stuck to my chest hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I popped that in. Then I try to make some coffee. And, I use the French press. And when I'm pouring the boiling water into the French press, I measure it out in a measuring cup because I want exactly 16 ounces in my French press. Take the measuring cup, pour it into the French press. And even though the cup has a spout and it should just pour into the French press, for some reason it's...
I don't know where you would have got it.
But he seemed very pleased with this cookie.
Yeah, I would be too.
And he started chomping on the cookie, and the crow had finished devouring the piece of bagel that I had given it. And I could see its beady little eye...
little dessert, maybe.
...fasten onto that cookie. Yeah. And it takes off the car and just starts attacking the cookie that the guy had in his hand. I mean, crows are pretty aggressive, but I've never seen one actually forcibly try to take food from a human.
It makes sense that it was an old man that couldn't defend himself.
I think I'd given him a taste for human food, and then he decided that he was going to just go to town. So this old man's shaking all over the place, trying to get this crow off him, and it's just like wings in his face, and crumbs are going everywhere.
Wow.
It was hilarious.
That's bizarre.
So I started just laughing uproariously while I'm sitting there in the bagelry and everyone else is staring at me because they don't see the amazing activity that's going on outside.
It makes me wonder, this story, if you can really take care of yourself. If maybe you shouldn't have, in-home care or something.
I'm normally fine. It was just one of those mornings where everything just went horribly wrong. I don't know what happened.
Most mornings you think you can, take care of yourself, dress yourself.
Usually I'm fine, yeah.
Without, having a car roll over your foot or, scalding yourself or injuring yourself while trying to make coffee.
Usually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
So in spite of that horrible morning, I've actually been in a better mood. I had a good encounter the other day. I think I've mentioned before the power of bitching and how bitching can often result in you getting your way.
I think that's the theme of the show, apparently, right?
Apparently.
Yeah.
I had a great example of this the other day. I had recently, when the new iPhone came out, I had upgraded to the iPhone 5. I sold my own phone to some guy in Russia and got the new phone. Paid over $3. No.
So we're not doing any special events for this show.
It's nothing special whatsoever.
Okay.
It'll just be the same inane talk.
All of you that had been anticipating that huge buildup that Brad was getting to episode 52 are going to be really disappointed by this show, because this show is going to suck really bad.
Well, I think next show will be the exciting 1-year anniversary of the Warren and Bradley show.
The very important show.
I'll start right off the bat with my horrible morning that I had. It was one of those, how sometimes everything perfectly aligns to be shit? It's a 1 in a million chance that all these things can happen, but somehow they do, and it all just...
Yeah.
I woke up this morning. We went out last night. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Had a few drinks. Woke up slightly hungover, and the way I was sleeping, I had apparently laid on my arm improperly.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just numb, it was just completely dead. Mm-hmm. And I tried to move my arm, and since it was asleep, it went... And I hit myself in the nose really hard.
With your dead arm?
With my dead arm. I was like, so that's the first thing that happens when I wake up in the morning. Then as I try to roll out of bed, I had somehow become entangled in my sheet. It had wrapped around my calf or something like that. And I wasn't aware of it. So I started rolling out of bed, and suddenly I got stuck in the sheet, and I went, and tumbled down to the ground and went... hit my head on the ground really hard.
Jesus.
So I was all bleary-eyed. I had smacked myself in the nose, hit my head. It's probably mildly concussed. I stumble into the bathroom. I'm all groggy and slightly hungover. I don't have my contacts in.
Yeah.
I go into the bathroom and immediately try to start pissing.
The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
though-provoking.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the host, Warren Van.
It is episode 52 of the Warren and Bradley Show. And
yeah, you're correct.
No.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I was totally wrong because, as we all know, there are 52 weeks in a year. And I thought, okay, it's week 52 or episode 52, which means it's been a year. But our first show was on December 4th.
Yeah.
And obviously, when this comes out, it will not be December 4th. It'll be like November 25th or something like that when it comes out, the day after Thanksgiving. So apparently we had an extra show in there somewhere. I think maybe when we first started the show, we did a couple in quick succession, not every week.
There's no way that happened. I don't remember that at all.
It did, because I think we did episode 1. I think what I did is I posted one, and then I posted the next one just a few days later or something like
really?
that. Yeah.
So it's not the 1 year anniversary.
Starts dribbling down, and it cascades down onto my bare foot.
Yeah.
And just completely scalds my foot. I actually had to put salve on it. So I'm wearing a sock right now that's all slimy because it has salve and like a burnt, boiled foot. Then I walk out to my car, or to my truck. I get in, start it up, take the emergency brake off. I'm ready to go. And then I realize that I forgot my wallet. So I take the key out of the ignition, get out of the car, but I had not put the emergency brake back on.
Oh, no.
As I'm getting out of the car, it rolls over the foot that got burnt by the scalding hot water. So I'm like, God damn it! Then, after that, I went back inside and decided that I would, like, wash out my coffee mug. Broke it.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know. I was just washing it,
handle
and
come
the
off?
handle came off.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this? So finally, I went back, got in my truck. I'm all, like, beaten up and fucked up. Drove downtown, and finally my day started to improve, actually, though, because I went into the bagelry, and I was eating my little sandwich, and I noticed this crow outside that was just like strutting around, and he was intimidating all the pigeons that were out there.
Sure.
I was like, oh, I'm going to give this crow some bagel. And so I open the door, and I get a chunk of bagel, and I throw it out at the crow, and it grabs it and just like starts ripping into it. So I'm kind of amused watching the crow. And then this little old man starts walking by, and he has a giant cookie. I don't know where he got it.
Like a novelty giant
It's
cookie?
like a huge, big cookie,
Yeah.
like wrapped in paper, and he's got it like a cuff.
Yeah, that's weird. That's something you usually get at the mall or maybe like a seaside resort or something.